When things weren't going that well, I used to always hate when some young guy about my age would drive by in this, those sports cars, really fancy sports car with the big tires and everything. I used to hate those jerks. So I went out and bought one.
Yeah.
The first warning sign was so tiny that almost nobody paid attention to it. It was just a slight twitch in his pinky finger, the kind of thing people could easily blame on stress, exhaustion, or one too many cups of coffee. On a busy movie set in the early 1990s, surrounded by bright lights, cameras, and constant activity, Michael J. Fox didn't think much of it. He was young, thriving, and living a dream that seemed unstoppable. Why would such a small movement matter at all? Yet sometimes the biggest life-changing events start with the smallest clues. By that point, Michael had already become one of the most recognizable stars in the world. He was the fast-talking Alex P. Keaton on Family Ties and the unforgettable Marty McFly in Back to the Future. He had a rare mix of charm, sharp humor, and genuine heart that made people connect with him instantly.
That's your business manager?
Yeah, and he said to me, I was looking for houses. He said, okay, now what you want to do, when you go and you see these houses with the broker, you be real cool. You be real, you hate everything. You don't like the house, you wouldn't live in it if they paid you, and that way he can negotiate. So I looked at all these houses, and I walked into this one, and I looked around, and I threw my keys in the ground, dropped them, and he said, my house, my house. And
blew the cool and you won.
Well, yeah, he just turned to the broker and said, he does this at every house.
Directors wanted him in their projects, fans couldn't get enough of him, and his schedule stayed packed non-stop. He moved from one production to the next, barely slowing down as his career kept reaching new heights. Then everything changed at just 29 years old. Sitting in a doctor's office, far away from red carpets and cheering crowds, he received news that would divide his life into two chapters. Before and after a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological condition with no known cure. He was told that he might have only about 10 strong working years left in his career. Just imagine hearing that at 29 years old. He had a young family, a career that was taking off, and a future that seemed wide open. Then, in an instant, everything looked different. It was as if a countdown had suddenly appeared where none existed before. Michael chose to keep the diagnosis private. He didn't share it with the public, the studios, or most people around him. For years, he carried that burden in silence. He tucked trembling hands into his pockets, held props more firmly, and adjusted his movements on set so cameras wouldn't focus on the signs he was trying so hard to hide.
What happened was I had Parkinson's. I had it for 7 years before I told anybody other than my family. And then it got to where I had to for various reasons. One was it was purely manifest. It was clearly manifest in my body. And the other thing was tabloids and stuff were chasing around it. And I just needed a break of people giving me a break. And a very interesting thing happened. The Parkinson's community responded in a way, and I hadn't thought about the existence of the Parkinson's community because I, like everybody else, had thought of them as mostly old people. So a lot of young people that just were disenfranchised and worried and stigmatized and didn't want to step out.
Instead of slowing down, he pushed himself even harder. It almost seemed like he believed staying busy could keep the future from catching up with him. Looking back, some friends noticed an urgency in the way he worked. He kept taking on major projects, including the hit sitcom Spin City, where he earned critical praise and several awards.
I left school and moved from Canada to LA to try to make it as an actor. A teacher of mine told me, Fox, you're not gonna be cute forever. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said, maybe just long enough, sir. After a few years of dumpster diving in LA, I ended up on Family Ties, where I received the biggest gift of my career. Met my wife, the actor Tracy Pollan. Played Ellen, my girlfriend. And she gave me 4 gifts of kids, Skylar, Gwenna, Esme, and Sam. Sometimes I like to remind them if it weren't for acting, they wouldn't be here. By the way, he's not an actor, he's just my date. I'm Michael J. Fox, and a dad, and I'm an actor.
On camera, he remained sharp, funny, and full of energy. Behind the scenes, though, he was managing medications, dealing with side effects, and carrying fears that were difficult to put into words. How do you process the possibility of a future changing before it even arrives? Parkinson's affects far more than movement alone. It can influence speech, balance, and facial expression. For an actor whose career depends on timing, physical presence, and subtle reactions, it wasn't just a diagnosis. It was a challenge that touched every part of his profession and daily life. It wasn't just a health challenge. It touched the deepest questions about identity, purpose, and the future.
It's a funny deal when you're that famous. And it's beyond just being on the cover of magazines. It's like you go to a restaurant, the best table out of their butts. You don't know where they got it from, but they always have a table for you wherever you want. That I referred to when they gave me an honorary Academy Award. Somebody said to me the day before, said they were talking about getting this award and being famous, and they say you were 80s famous, right? We were tougher. We didn't have social media. We didn't have any of that crap. We were just famous. Left our own resources, and it was an amazing time.
Then, in 1998, nearly 7 years after receiving his diagnosis, Michael J. Fox made a decision that changed the course of his story once again. He went public. For years, he had kept his condition hidden from much of the world. Now, in interviews, he spoke openly about what he had been facing behind the scenes.
I'll tell you right now, it's a hard disease. It's a hard disease to have. Parkinson's patients are if they're in a room with their doctor, they're the expert. My tremors are going down. I'm feeling a lot calmer. I feel a lot better. I feel stronger. I'm feeling great, but I just want to make that point that it is. Don't confuse my situation with the situation of so many people have Parkinson's. Right?
Fans who had long known him for his quick humor, sharp wit, and confident screen presence suddenly saw a more vulnerable side of him. The news shocked many people. He was still only in his 30s, and countless fans felt the same reaction. He's far too young for this. But this is where the story took a remarkable turn. Instead of stepping away from public life, he chose a different path. In 2000, he launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation, committing himself to supporting research, advancing treatments, and helping drive the search for a cure. What started as a deeply personal setback evolved into a powerful mission that reached far beyond himself. Of course, purpose didn't make the struggles disappear. As the years passed, the disease continued to progress. There were serious falls, broken bones, surgeries, and unexpected moments when his balance gave way without warning.
I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about living. I don't have to worry about care. I don't have to worry about family. I have a wonderful family. Not everybody has that stuff stacked up in their corner. We're special responsibility to look out for those people and to be their resource. And it's a great blessing. It's such a privilege for me to do this. I would rather be in this situation than a million others.
Through it all, Michael developed a mindset that many found inspiring. Not unrealistic positivity, but a determined choice to face difficult realities without letting them define him completely. At 64 years old, Michael J. Fox's voice carries a softer tone, and his movements are more careful and deliberate than they once were. There are pauses now that weren't part of his conversations years ago. Yet, if you listen closely, you'll still hear the same quick wit and sharp sense of humor that made audiences love him in the first place. He often uses jokes to address his condition, easing tension before anyone has a chance to feel sorry for him. Behind that humor, though, is a much deeper reality. It's the story of decades spent adapting, adjusting, and finding new ways to navigate everyday life.
If I'm walking across the room and you want to help me and I'm clearly stumbling a little bit or having a difficult time, your instinct will be to want to put your hand under my armpit and put your hand on my back and drag me across the room. It's not what I need. I need you to put your hand out. Put your hand out. That's all I need. Then I know where I am in space and I can walk. But to tell that to somebody who wants to grab you, the minute they grab you, now they're controlling your movement. You can't overwhelm that force. But if someone's just letting you touch them, and then I can walk a mile.
Each morning can bring fresh challenges, requiring patience and determination when his body doesn't respond the way he wants it to. What does it feel like to live with a condition that never truly takes a day off? There were periods when he stepped away from acting, openly acknowledging that memorizing lines and controlling his speech had become increasingly difficult. Even so, he later returned for selected roles, determined to prove that a diagnosis does not erase a person's identity or purpose. Michael has spoken honestly about the emotional weight that comes with the journey. He's discussed frustration, difficult days, and moments when acceptance feels harder to hold on to. He has also shared that optimism isn't automatic. It takes effort. Gratitude and grief can exist side by side, and that reality may be one of the most emotional parts of his story. Beyond the diagnosis itself, there is the challenge of someone who once moved with complete ease now having to approach each step with careful thought and attention every single day. Even so, Michael J. Fox's story cannot be reduced to loss alone. While Parkinson's changed the course of his life, it also led him toward a mission that has had a massive impact far beyond Hollywood. Through the Michael J. Fox Foundation, billions of dollars have been raised and invested into research efforts, helping support scientific discoveries, clinical trials, and new approaches to treatment. Many researchers have credited the organization with helping push progress forward at a pace that once seemed almost impossible. That raises a powerful question. Was that tiny tremor in his finger the start of a tragedy? Or was it the beginning of something much bigger? One image stays with people, a young Michael J. Fox racing through a scene full of energy, confidence, and momentum. Then there is another image years later, standing carefully at a podium, his hands visibly shaking, yet his voice steady and determined as he speaks to scientists, supporters, and families affected by Parkinson's. Both images tell the story of the same person. The hardships are impossible to ignore. A remarkable career was forced to adapt. His body changed over time, and a deeply personal struggle became public. Yet woven through every chapter is resilience, determination, and purpose. At 64, he continues to live with challenges that many people can hardly imagine. Still, he keeps speaking out, advocating for progress, and showing up, not as an untouchable movie hero, but as something even more inspiring, a person facing adversity with courage and persistence. Years after that first diagnosis, Michael J. Fox's impact reaches far beyond television screens and movie theaters. For many people living with Parkinson's, he became more than a famous actor. He became proof that a difficult diagnosis does not erase a person's value, ambition, or ability to make a difference. His honesty changed the conversation around the disease. Before Michael spoke publicly, many people knew very little about Parkinson's. Afterward, millions were suddenly paying attention. Families affected by the condition saw someone they could relate to standing in the spotlight and speaking openly about challenges that were often kept private. What makes his journey so remarkable isn't that he defeated Parkinson's. The disease never simply disappeared. Instead, he showed the world what persistence looks like when the fight continues every single day. He faced setbacks, painful falls, surgeries, and countless obstacles, yet he kept finding reasons to move forward. People often remember the movie star, the sitcom actor, the celebrity who made audiences laugh. But those closest to his story point to something else. They point to the researcher receiving funding for a breakthrough study. They point to families finding hope through new treatments. They point to a foundation that helped transform personal hardship into global action. That may be the most surprising twist of all. The diagnosis that once threatened to take so much from him also helped create a legacy that continues to impact millions of lives around the world. And while Parkinson's remains part of his story, it never became the whole story. His determination, humor, and refusal to disappear quietly became just as important as any role he ever played on screen. And maybe that's why Michael J. Fox's story continues to resonate with so many people today. It isn't just about fame, success, or even illness. It's about what happens when life suddenly takes a direction you never expected. One day you're planning for the future, and the next, you're forced to rethink everything. For decades, audiences watched him play characters who seemed able to overcome any obstacle. In real life, the challenge was far more complicated. There was no movie script, no guaranteed happy ending, and no way to predict exactly what would come next. Every year brought new hurdles, new adjustments, and new realities to face. Yet through all of it, Michael refused to let fear make his decisions. That doesn't mean he was never discouraged. By his own account, there were difficult periods, frustrating setbacks, and moments when the road ahead looked uncertain. But again and again, he found a way to keep moving forward. His journey also revealed something that often gets overlooked. Strength doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes strength is showing up to another doctor's appointment. Sometimes it's recovering from another fall. Sometimes it's standing in front of an audience and speaking honestly about struggles that most people never see. Today, his legacy reaches far beyond Back to the Future, Family Ties, or Spin City. Those achievements remain iconic, But another chapter has become just as significant. Through advocacy, research funding, and public awareness, he helped change how millions of people view Parkinson's disease and the people living with it. The young actor who once seemed unstoppable eventually faced one of life's toughest challenges. The shocking diagnosis altered his path forever. But instead of disappearing from public view, he transformed personal adversity into something that continues to inspire scientists, patients, families, and supporters around the world. And that may be the most extraordinary part of Michael J. Fox's story. Not what happened to him, but what he chose to do afterward. Maybe that's exactly why Michael J. Fox's story connects with so many people around the world. It forces us to think about difficult questions. What would you do if the future you had carefully planned suddenly changed at just 29 years old? Would you keep it hidden? Would you push forward despite the uncertainty? Would you still find a reason to believe better days were ahead? Michael J. Fox once became famous for playing a character who could travel through time and change the future. But in real life, there was no way to rewrite his diagnosis. Instead, he did something equally remarkable. He changed what that diagnosis would come to represent. The tremor that once threatened to derail everything became the spark behind a movement that brought hope to millions of people. In that powerful space between hardship and determination, his legacy continues to grow and inspire new generations. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might find it inspiring. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What part of Michael J. Fox's journey impacted you the most? We'd love to hear from you.